All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, Patrick Saunders, Rockies reporter for the Denver Post. Patrick, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy guy with the Rockies right now. Just how's that been going for you?
It's a grind.
Yeah,
Covering a Major League Baseball team is always a grind, but when you're covering a Major League Baseball team that's on its way to its third and second 100 loss season and possibly the worst record in Major League history, that's the definition of the grind. So let's hope they turn it around a little bit because there's a lot of good guys on the team, um, but let's face it, they're just not very good.
yeah,
And it's going to be a while until they turn the corner.
yeah. I've been covering East Carolina baseball this season, and they're over 500, but not really living up to the fans' expectations. But guys like you really put it into perspective for me. It's like, hey, it's not 162 games. It's not that bad, but
Yeah.
yeah, Rocky's not doing so good. But our boy Zach Agnos has been called up. What have you just seen from him in his 9 appearances?
Well, for the most part, he's been terrific. He's been nails. His last outing was a little rough, uh, but for the most part, he's been excellent. He's moved into the closer role most of the time, which for a guy who made his major league debut, just this season, that's saying something. I know the manager, Bud Black, or former manager, Bud Black, because Buddy just got fired last Sunday, told me way back in spring training that he thought Zach Agnos certainly was going to make the team this year and had a chance to be a back of the bullpen pitcher reliever for a variety of reasons. One, his stuff is good, although the Rockies have guys who throw harder. But he loved his mentality. He loved his coolness, if you will. He thought he had the right kind of stuff to handle late game duties. So I could see this coming. And talking to Zach and getting to know him a little bit, uh, he just is one of those guys that you think has the ability to shake off a bad game or not get too high or get too low. So he's been one of the bright spots for the Rockies so far, no question.
Yeah, and it was nice to see him get called up. But how much of the team just struggling went into that? Because I had the thought the other day, it's like if he was in the Dodgers organization, he probably wouldn't be pitching in Dodger Stadium right now. So how much of the team struggling went into him getting called up?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think when you're talented. And when you show what he showed during spring training, I think it's warranted. Now, the Dodgers, they're a different animal than the Rockies, of course. But my guess is if Zach Agnos pitched the way he did in spring training for the Dodgers, similar to what he did for the Rockies, there's a chance he might have gotten called up. Because the Dodgers, they recycle through their bullpen quite often, sometimes because of injuries, sometimes because of phantom injuries. In other words, they like to keep their bullpen fresh. So they'll find an injury for a guy, put him on the injured list, and call up somebody from the minors. Dodgers have been doing that for a long time. But bottom line, I think Zach Agnos could be in any team's bullpen right now. I'm not just saying that because you're asking me the question. I think his stuff is that good, and I think his mentality is that sharp.
Yeah, you mentioned your conversations with Bud Black. He got fired after the 21 nothing loss to the Padres. Just what do you think that does for the team? Do you think it could spark a little something here, or is it just hey, we need a change?
Well, it hasn't so far. They're 0-3 under Warren Schaefer, the interim manager, and Warren's a good baseball man and a good person. Change was needed, no question about it. I'm very tight with Bud Black, and I felt really bad that he was not given the tools he needed to become a winning manager in Colorado. He was his first 2 years, the only manager in Rockies history to take a team to the postseason 2 consecutive seasons. But that was 17 and 18. That was eons ago. Uh, so, what does it mean to the Rockies? They had to make some sort of change. When you had lost 8 straight and lost 21 to nothing, or heading in the direction they're heading, uh, you could see it coming. I mean, I'd written my Bud Black gets fired story probably 3 weeks ago to get it ready because being prepared. I knew it was coming. I felt bad for him. It's not his fault. The next question is, who else gets fired? Does the GM get fired? Do they shake up the front office? A lot of Rockies fans are wondering that. Uh, it might make a difference. Warren Schaefer, he's only 40. He's got a lot of energy, very positive guy, a little edgier than Bud Black, who's very laid back. But we'll see. Uh, the Rockies need to get a few players back, particularly Ezekiel Tovar, their Gold Glove shortstop. He should come back pretty soon from injury. Uh, but bottom line is, this is just not a very talented team. And some of the players they counted on to turn the corner this year have not. And
Yeah,
that's a disappointment.
you talk about not really a talented team, the struggles, the losses. Uh, they do have to send somebody to the All-Star game, and I was talking to Danny Beal, a former teammate of Zach Agnos, and he says I could see him making the All-Star team or Hunter Goodman, the catcher. So you think those are the two options, or could anybody else be named the All-Star?
Wow, that's wild. I have not even considered the Rockies having an all-star this year. I don't mean to be so flippant. I mean, I'm not. I'm just kind of gallows humor here. Wow, Rockies also. Well, I wouldn't say I would doubt Zach would be the guy.
Yeah,
Partly because he's probably not going to have enough workload, uh, right? Because I mean, how many save opportunities is he even going to have?
yeah,
Because the Rockies right now are not in a position to save games, right? So he's not going to make his mark that way. Hunter Goodman, catcher slash DH, he's been their best hitter. He's got some power. He might be the guy. Um, I would have thought going into this year the best two candidates to make the All Star game would have been either Tovar, who I mentioned, or center fielder Brenton Doyle, who may be, or not maybe, I think he is the best fielding center fielder in the league, but he has not hit the ball well. So you might be onto something. Right now, if you had to pick one guy from the Rockies and every team gets one guy, it would probably be Hunter Goodman.
all right. Well, shout out Danny Beal for that one.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of we've talked to a couple of former teammates of Zach Nagnos. Is just everybody in this ECU organization the last couple of years have been doing pretty well for themselves. Alec Burleson, Connor Norby, just to name a few. They've been talking about Zach Agnos just being a great shortstop, and they were kind of surprised to see him drafted as a pitcher by the Rockies. Do you? I mean, I get we're nine games into his career with the Rockies so far, but do you think that shortstop opportunity could be in his future?
No, no. I talked to him about that in spring training for a feature I did on him, and he said that was a very conscious effort on his part when he left college. That he thought he looked at the metrics. He knew the physical skills that he had at the college level were fine, but he measuring himself against major league caliber shortstops, both as a fielder and a hitter, uh, he didn't measure up. He told me he thought his future to make it and do make an impact in the majors was definitely going to be as a relief pitcher. So I think if you told him that he might be switched over to infield, let alone shortstop, I think he would shake his head and he'd say, no, no way, no way.
Yeah, all right. Patrick Saunders joining us. You live in Denver. You said you filled in for a few Nuggets games so far. What a wild ride this season's been for the Denver Nuggets, firing Michael Malone 4 games into a season, 4 games left before the end of the season, and still having an MVP candidate in Jokic, and now going 7 with the Thunder, the number 1 seed, one of the best teams in the NBA. Just what's the feel around the Nuggets right now?
Well, I know the feeling around the city is ecstatic, right? 2 years ago, they won the NBA title, the first NBA title in Colorado history. I think there was a lot of skeptics, particularly when Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, their GM, were fired uh, late in the season. And the Nuggets ownership said at the time it was to give the Nuggets a chance to do something this year. I think a lot of people scoffed at that. I think a lot of people thought they were raising the white flag, surrender. It hasn't turned out that way. Uh, the interim coach has done a terrific job. the team is playing its ass off. They're playing so hard. I think most people would tell you, you look at OKC, which, I know they're the number one seed, and I think they have the most wins of anybody in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. On paper, and when you watch the games, OKC has more talent than the Nuggets. Uh, Joker notwithstanding, but the Nuggets, they know how to win in crunch time, or at least they've shown that. Aaron Gordon has been phenomenal. I mean, he's been a miracle worker. Uh, and Joker, he never ceases to amaze me. That a guy, and I always say this, he looks like a mafia guy from Law and Order episode or something, right? I mean, a Russian mobster or something, but he's just so gifted and so physical, and he does things you never expect. His passing, 3-point shooting, his toughness, all those things. And then Jamal Murray, I was kind of ready to write him off. I
Yeah.
I thought they way overpaid for Jamal Murray when they re-signed him, but he's been the heart and soul of this team outside of Joker during the playoffs, and now they go to a game 7 in OKC. It's going to be a tough task for them to win. Uh, and if I was a betting man, and I'm not. If I'm a betting man, I think I'd have to go with Oklahoma City because they're on their home court and they have so much firepower. Hey, but if the Nuggets can pull it off in 7, then they get a rematch with the Timberwolves, who knocked them out last year in the Western Finals. So we'll see. But I will say this: one of the things I love about the Nuggets, they're very unselfish. They spread the ball around. They really have an affection for each other. There's a camaraderie there. Uh, it's a fun team to watch, no question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just always fascinated by Jokic because, I mean, anybody with that build, you would not figure is the greatest player in the league. I mean, the guy's 7 foot and has like what, a 3-inch vertical. Like
Right,
it
right.
just makes no sense how he's that good. But you talked about OKC. You would probably take them in Game 7. They're just, I don't know if it's they're too young or what it is. Every time I'm ready to like give them the stamp of approval, they just let me down. So I could see it going either way, Game 7. But with the Michael Malone firing, what do you think it takes for the interim guy to get the full-time job?
Well, I think he may have gotten it right now. I think he's probably exceeded expectations, and who knows? I mean, the reason Malone was fired, from what I understand, and what our beat writer Bennett Durando has written, uh, is there was so much infighting going on between the GM and the coach that it was leaking into the locker room, into the court. And finally, ownership essentially said, we can't have this, enough of this. Uh, so that was, and Edelston, the new coach, he seems to have been able to wash that away. So I think, and one of our columnists actually wrote this the other day, saying he deserves a chance to be the head coach next year, and I imagine he gets it. If the Nuggets had, you know, gotten beat in the first round or had not shown up in this round against OKC, then maybe they would have said no, thank you for your duty, but let's move on. But uh, I could see him getting a legitimate shot. One thing I wanted to fire back at you, a question for you. You're much younger than me, so I don't know if you would have the NBA history that I have, but I would venture to guess that Nikola Jokic has got to be one of the top 3 big men passers in NBA history.
Yeah,
I mean, his passes, and the playoffs, it's a little more difficult to see because the defense goes up such a level. Uh, but watching him and covering him sometimes during the regular season, some of the passes he makes to guys cutting or hitting a guy on the mark for 3-pointer, a spot up 3-pointer, just remarkable. Just remarkable. I mean, Larry Bird was that way. Bill Walton, way, way back in the day, was that way. And Magic Johnson, of course, but he was a point guard. But holy cow, the Joker's ability to see the court and to share the basketball, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see.
yeah. I mean, his game just amazes me. Like I said, 7 foot, 3-inch vertical, but he plays like a point guard.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But I mean, I haven't seen every big man ever, but I agree with you. I'd say top 3 passing big man.
Yeah.
His game is just fascinating to me.
It is. It
I
is.
feel
And
like in 30 years we'll look back and be like, what the hell was this?
yes,
I don't
I
think we'll
know.
see anybody else like him.
Right. I mean, you talk about MVPs of the league. I mean, he's a 3-timer. You're talking about guys like Jordan and LeBron and Kobe and Magic and Bird and all those kind of guys, and they were so different, so athletic, so highlight reel films every night. And Joker has highlights too, but they're kind of like, really, how did he do that? That makes you kind of love the guy all the more, right? Because he doesn't have those. He can't jump out of the gym. He doesn't do
Yeah.
360 dunks or anything. But yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah. Patrick Saunders joining us today. Rockies got the Diamondbacks this weekend.
They do. Starting tonight, Friday night. Diamondbacks are playing okay, not great. The NL West is packed. The Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants are playing great. The D-backs are playing, so-so. Yeah, the Rockies are, what are they, 20-something games
7 and
behind the Dodgers
36.
already?
Yeah.
Right? It's not even Memorial Day. Yeah, so they have a tough test. And then, get this, they come home Monday. They got the Phillies for 4, and the Phillies are a salty team, even though they're behind the Mets in the NL East.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees come to town,
God.
right, with Aaron with Aaron Judge and everybody else, And the crazy thing is about Colorado baseball, Coors Field, I assume for the 4 games for the Phillies, they'll be decent attendance, right? Maybe I could see them getting 28, 30,000 a game
Nice.
because of the Phillies, not because of the Rockies.
Yeah.
And the Yankees come in this following weekend, right before Memorial Day, and they're probably going to have a couple sellouts, the Rockies at Coors Field. And that's the way it goes. People say, why do the Rockies draw so well? They're a bad team. One, Coors Field is an amazing ballpark. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to be there, but it's beautiful. On a summer night, it's fantastic. There's a good vibe to it. It's a very family-friendly vibe. Fans don't really pay that close of attention to the game, truthfully. Which is a shame for somebody like me, who cares a lot about the game itself. But when other teams come in, the transplants to Colorado, they show up in droves. So it'll probably be a sellout a couple times next week.
Yeah, Patrick, I feel for you just with how bad the Rockies are, but as a White Sox fan, I hope it continues, and you are the worst team in history and not mine. So
that's funny. The Rockies right now are tracking worse than the White Sox did a year ago.
yeah, I think they're projected to win 28 games. So
Something like that.
yeah.
No, it's not going to be that bad.
No.
They've got to get some better.
Yeah,
now, will they lose 121 or 122 like the White Sox did last year? Right, 122 would give them the all-time record for futility. I don't know. The White Sox suck this year too, but they don't suck as much as the Rockies do. So.
Yeah, we got a bet here over 53.5 wins for the White Sox. So,
oh my.
Hopefully they can keep stacking them. But thanks for joining us today, man.
Sure.
I'll reach out again this summer. Hopefully we can get you back on. But thank you for your time, and have a great day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.